Hey everyone, I'm Anna Berry.
And I'm Tom Bielchini.
And this is Behind the Scenes Oklahoma. Hey everyone, welcome to Behind the Scenes Oklahoma. I'm your host, Anna Berry. And today we're talking with writer and director Tyler Marie Evans, the bold creative behind this new feature film that was shot in Oklahoma, Pretty Babies. Welcome to the podcast today, Tyler Marie. So happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be a part of it. As you know, I really loved filming in Tulsa.
It looked so fun watching it come alive. I got to see it personally on set, but just through the social media pictures.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, so Pretty Babies is about two high school best friends who decide to run away and chasing their dream of becoming actresses. They both have a love of old Hollywood. And in doing so, they fall deep into the hole of sex work.
How did you come up with this story?
Growing up, I was so in love with old Hollywood myself, and I read so many of those stories. And there was really such a power to these women that I saw at a young age. I was 8 years old, and I was reading books on Betty Davis and Joan Crawford and actresses like that, Lana Turner, and all these people. And I think I myself was searching for a strong female voice that wasn't just hinged on, being close to a guy or anything. I really wanted like a woman on her own who was doing things and making her life happen. And I saw all these women, and in congruence with their stories of old Hollywood, I saw a lot of like the sexual pressures that were put on them, the sexual things that they had to do, or that was even, like I said, pushed on them. And that really made me think about how susceptible young women are who have these dreams. And, even though Me Too and all these things have happened in terms of freeing women from them, there still is a pressure that if you do this, if you give up your body, if you do this, you can achieve this. And I think, women in particular, with the history of prostitution, we've had our survival tied so closely to our sexuality, even in regards to abortion and pro-life, pro-choice in the debate. It's like, men, it's like, go sow your seed. But with women in particular, survival is tied so close to sexuality. And in really wanting to do this story justice and to do these people justice, I spent so much time interviewing sex workers. Actually, when we were doing pre-production, I'd already interviewed and talked to so many and done my research. But even when we were doing pre-production in Tulsa, I started to interview different sex workers there just to make sure that I was doing the story justice, because I didn't want to be speaking for someone. I think as an artist, you kind of want to give a megaphone to the story of many by sculpting it into something, into a story. So, yeah.
Well, there's such a fine line between, I lived in Los Angeles for many years, and I know you're currently in New York, but you live full-time in LA. Is that correct?
Silver Lake, where my two cats are, who think that I'm probably dead because I've been editing here in New York for a few months.
Well, I know that area well. I was in Los Feliz, so up in those hills. But the reality of Hollywood, having lived there in the early 2000s, it was so real. People would say, "What was that like?" I said, "It's everything you imagined and better and worse." I mean, it truly was.
Yeah.
But that fine line between the desire to be an actress and the desperation to be an actress, and how do you navigate that, especially when you're young? I moved to LA when I was 21, and I think
Same.
really younger. And for me, I was like, this, no, I have a hard line. I'm out. I went to New York. I was like, I'm home. But there are so many people who do make it, right? And how do they get there? And what is their journey? So I want to talk a little bit more about that research, because I know I saw you and Talia, the producer of this film with Rebellion Films, going to some strip clubs in Tulsa. So what was that process like, going in there? How do you approach these women? How do you have a conversation with them? How do you get truth?
Well, and I think a big part is, for me at least, like I'm a girl's girl. I have so many close girlfriends. I love women. I mainly work with female actresses just because I prefer to work with actresses, just because I think the connection and collaboration has always been very nice for me versus like, and I'm sure there are some great actors, but just I'm a very feminine person. So it makes it I don't want to say easy, but I don't know. I just treat them like another girl, and you see them and you're like, hi. I'm always like, hi, I'm Tyler Marie. I'm a writer director. Hey, I'm working on this story. Kind of controversial material, kind of dangerous, but let me speak to it and tell me what you think. Tell me what your thoughts are like. And then listening to them. What I noticed was so many of the people in sex work that I was talking to, I was asking them, like, real questions, but I was listening and commenting and, like, not just getting the information for myself, but treating them like another human being, which, I feel like is not something that people feel often, and you can tell it when you feel their eyes when they're talking to you that they're feeling like they're really being heard and also not sexualized or objectified. I think that's really important too, to treat them like a full person. I think, even in 2025, people in sex work, there's so many opinions or whatever that's brought onto them that has nothing to do with them, so many stereotypes and things like that. And whenever I talk to one, I wanted to remove all of that and speak to them like I'd be speaking to my own sister, like I'd be speaking to a friend, like I'd be speaking to anyone, like that,
Totally.
treating them because they are people. Everything
Yeah.
that I'm saying is just piggybacking off of, they are people who are doing this as a survival situation, or as a that they want to do it situation. So just kind of feeling that through that conversation, what their process is like and everything, talking to them like they're people.
Well, I had the privilege of reading the script and I felt there was a lot of just honesty in there. There was a curiosity, there was rage, there was just so many emotions in there. So when I was sitting on that bed with the lead actresses, I mean, what an honor that was. I got to be with the two lead actresses and I remember asking them, "How do you do this? Like how do you do this?" And we won't give too much information to the viewers and listeners right now, but talk a little
Yeah.
bit about these amazing actresses. Sadie Stanley, I got to meet and work with, and Emily Alyn Lind. Oh my
Oh,
gosh. And then there's Ashley
I
Benson and Madelaine Petsch. I didn't get to meet them, but I mean, those four, I mean, the photos, you couldn't cast it any better. So beautiful and
they're movie
ethereal and
stars. Yeah,
dark
yeah.
and tormented and hopeful, all the things. So, talk about these real stories of real women doing this by choice or not, and then how you infuse that into these young actresses. I mean, these girls are, or at least the girls I work with, they're in their early 20s.
Yeah, yeah, I'm 20 23, I think 23. Yeah, no, it's so funny. It reminds me of when we finished our first table read, and our table read was on Zoom, and my cat Renoir was there. So, dude, that was so sad. So
Oh,
long ago. I miss him. But anyway, so we did our table read, and everyone did such a great job for like the first read through. And I remember telling them, like, my main goal with this is I want to portray a complex, full woman in each and every one of your characters. I want to, like you said, I want to portray the ups and downs, the loneliness, the passion, the sensuality, the sexuality, the withholding, the sophistication, the intelligence, everything. I want to portray the whole person. I don't want to portray impoverished. I don't want to portray, very rich. It's like this, so much less about what's going on the external and so much more about what's going on internally, the whole person. And it's so funny because in college, my degree was English, and some of my favorite classes were like feminist lit theory. And if I think about like some art that's really influenced me, it's the Virginia Woolf and Sylvia Plath and things like that. And I remember reading those writers and thinking, number one, I'm not alone. You feel so less alone when you hear a woman showing her full self. And it made me feel not alone. And it's not about heroes or villains, but it's about, every fragmented piece of femininity that includes sexuality, that includes all these other things. So that's what I told the actresses. And I am so grateful. Like this, really, it's hit or miss, like when you are bringing actresses on. This was my debut, but the artistry and craft and everything that these actresses brought really moved me. Sadie Stanley and Emily are, younger than me, and I felt like they were my sisters at the end of filming. Like the connection that I had with them was just so incredible. And Sadie's character in particular is a very difficult one to play. And in order to have played her character, she had to put a lot of trust in me, and I was so thankful for that trust. Both all of them really, all of them had to put trust in me. And Madelaine and we call her Mads and Ashley, just absolutely fantastic actresses. And I was a little intimidated at first, but then they showed so much kindness and so much trust in the script as well. And I was so grateful for that. Because I felt like at the end of the film, I had like Little Women.
Yeah.
Not to, pitch another piece of
I agree with it.
literature. Yeah, but really, and it was such a beautiful, I mean, honestly, it was so magical to have that trust and creative collaboration with 4 such smart, like I said, craft driven. Every performance was great. These women, each and every one of them brought so much to the screen. And we had like, this is a lower budget indie film. We had not a lot of days. I had huge hopes in terms of shooting and the different shots we were doing. We didn't have a lot of time for takes. So in my mind, I was like, oh my God, they have to be good because I have about 2 to 3 takes I can get from
Yeah.
this. And sometimes it would even be less because the performances were so spot on. And it's really beautiful when it even moves past just like a work, just working together, because we're having these conversations about what these characters are going through and what they're experiencing. Um, Off of set, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
became such great friends to me that I can, I support them. I love them. Madelaine just had a movie come out, and 2 movies actually, and we're texting each other like, so excited for you. Hell yeah. And sending selfies of me and the DP watching her movie. And,
Nice.
all the actresses I talk to consistently, and I'm just beyond grateful for them.
That's everyone's dream. And you mentioned trust a lot. So as an actress myself, you don't know going into a film if it's going to be good, right?
Oh yeah.
And you don't know if the director is going to be good. I mean, you can read the script, you can maybe get the lay of the land with who's cast, but you still don't know. And so there's a lot of sex in this movie. And there's some uncomfortable situation. I've
Yeah.
personally never I've had to kiss someone on screen once. I've never had to do anything else. And I
Yeah.
was like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do it? So walk us through that because I know you also had a female DP, which I
Yeah.
think would be helpful. I mean, a female director, a female DP, like a bunch of other women on set, much more, I would feel much more comfortable if I had to do that
Mhm.
versus a room full of men staring at me,
Yeah.
uncomfortable position. So I don't know if some of our viewers know. How do you do
Mhm.
a legit sex scene on film like
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, there is a lot of sexual themes in it, but also there isn't anything that's just for the sake of sex, though, to be honest with the material. And that's actually one of the actresses told me. She was like, it's really incredible. Every time there's a sexual moment, it's at like an internal, it's necessary. It determines something for the character. We're not just like, okay, we're watching sex. This is fun. Sex, sex, sex. There's always like a reason for it. There's always like a story reason. So that was something that was very important to me. I never wanted to have our actresses, portraying these sex scenes just for the sake of sex. There's other
sure.
movies that can fulfill that, not mine. So in terms of doing the sex scene, I think you should have an intimacy coordinator. I'm against not having an intimacy coordinator. I think that's inappropriate. So me personally, and I'm a woman and I had a female DP, and I said, I want my actresses to feel like there's that added safeguard of having an intimacy coordinator as a woman myself, and I did acting as a kid, but really, nothing recent, of course. I wouldn't feel comfortable not having someone whose main job is to be overseeing that, part of the acting part of the scene or whatever. So we always had an intimacy coordinator, which, we talked with the actresses in depth about what that scene would portray, what
Hmm.
shots, what we were seeing, just so for comfort levels, so that they're not walking into anything being like, this was a surprise. I didn't know the shot was going to be like this. So we try to talk to the actresses beforehand and, really get to the psychological center of the character of what they're going through. This film, there's not one single moment in this film that is for the male gaze. The
Hmm.
film is solely for the female gaze, how we experience sex, how we experience things portrayed to sex and identity and self and dreams and realism and how people see us and how we view ourselves. It's all
Hmm.
female gaze. So with that being said, when the actresses are portraying sexual moments, it's not about, I need the light like this so your shoulder can look like this so you can look good, because over 100 years in film. We just need another woman looking great having sex. No, it is about the emotional experience of that character because so many women, myself, so many people who read the script identified with the situations these girls are in. So, we had an intimacy coordinator. We would do a lot of pre-production discussion time about what it was and just like even beyond the sex scene, it's so funny. When I was looking for DPs, I wasn't even looking for a female DP. I interviewed like 40 DPs because it was really important to me. And what's really incredible and kind of like an act of the universe, act of God or whatever, is that out of all the DPs, male and female, Lauren was the number one. She was the one that I connected with the most. She was the number one artist, I thought, in my opinion, for my film and my voice. And she just kicked ass. And then fast forward to all the sex scenes, I was like, oh, I didn't even plan that, but thank goodness, because,
Mm,
having two women, it really does change a lot on set. We had mainly female PAs. So, like,
mm.
having that added element of, our Talia, one of our co-producers, also a female, Christine Vachon, you Killer Films female, like, and I hate saying just because they're female, but I think because of the sexual nature of the film, having these women who came around together and were in leader leadership positions created a sense of safety, even if like I said, I didn't plan it. And it also meant that I think Lauren and I, when we were shooting these scenes, we weren't distracted by, you know what I mean? Like it was all about the emotion and what we ourselves identify with as women,
Yeah.
which I think, in terms of the camera, that's so important.
Well, the camera picks up every single nuance and it picks up the energy of the space. And for my short time on set, I felt you and Lauren were so in sync. Everyone was in sync. It was focused, it was
Yeah.
dialed in, and I mean, it wasn't pressure like you're going to do things wrong. It was more like it was like a pressure cooker. The rice, is getting
Uh,
ready and it's slowly seeping out the steam. It was really,
yeah.
really powerful. So I can't
And
wait to
it's
see
like,
that.
and it's so funny. Our intimacy coordinator actually told me a line that I'll write in a memoir one day, just because it was very like interesting. Our intimacy coordinator, which shout out to Jessica. Jess was insanely great. So cool. So supportive. But she told me, she was like, you wrote a very dangerous script. And that always stayed with me because it is a very dangerous script. It's saying very difficult, controversial things with that honesty, because sometimes honesty isn't safe. Sometimes honesty has that element of controversy, not because it's trying, but because it's what breaks out of us, because it's what's real. And for me, the script, I wrote so much about my own conversation regarding female sexuality and how I felt like it had been used for the media, and yet it was such a personal experience for a young person too. So I hope I did it well, but we try to be extra safe, knowing that it has that element of danger, that it's a dangerous script.
It was dangerous because I related. I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
not the only one. So good. I'm glad you have these visual conversations out there. That's what film is. It's a visual conversation, and then you can spark it with other people. Talk to me about Oklahoma. How in the heck did you get here?
It's crazy. It's a crazy story. Well, it's so funny because I was born in Las Vegas. I grew up in Santa Clarita and then California, which is outside of LA. And then when I was 13, my family moved to Dallas. So, the film is on this road trip and it goes across the United States. And I was like, oh my God, where could we do this with the time constraint that we were looking at and everything? And I don't even know how, but we switched gears and ended up in Oklahoma. And I was like, okay, because it worked out well with the tax rebate and things like that. And I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this because we don't have mountains, which we ended up shooting like some mountains outside of Oklahoma, or I'm sorry, not in Oklahoma, but just go driving a little farther. But going to Tulsa, it's so funny because the production designer, Jonathan, and I, when we discussed it, didn't really know what to expect. But then we got to Tulsa and like the Art Deco look, it's so funny. Art Deco wasn't even a thing in the script, but the girls have like a love of old Hollywood. So having those elements and the random mint green and pink buildings and all these things, some of the cast, they were joking. They were like, some parts of the city feel like they were made for this script. That's why
Mm,
it felt like such a, call it like a God thing or something. Like it felt so incredible because it was like Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like I couldn't have even randomly put my finger on the map any other way. And then you see like a pink high school that the whole thing feels old Hollywood and pink. And you see the light green on top of the building and this whole thing. And I fell in love with Tulsa. I fell in love like with our crew members, with our PAs, with our gaffer, with our grip, with our teams. Like, what a fantastic group of people. It's so true that it takes a village to make a movie. Like, I could be dandy doing my own thing, but if I don't have an incredible group of artists, and I'm not just talking about, it's not about having people who follow orders, not at all. It's about people who are artists in their own sense, in their own way, who connect with the script and want to speak in, through their artistry with what the story's saying. And our production design team, our grip, our electric, our gaffer, our Gaffer's team, like everyone, like our DIT, everyone was just so, we were all caught up in this dream that Pretty Babies offered of like glitter on the eyes, of like, you know, beauty despite all odds, of teamwork and camaraderie despite small budget random city. You know what I mean? Like it, I feel like the vision kind of hit us all in a different way and it brought such an incredible, I don't know, experience. I really loved shooting in Oklahoma.
That's awesome. That's so awesome to hear. I also saw that you went somewhere on Route 66, right? There was an old neon sign hotel somewhere.
Yeah, Desert Hills? Desert
Yeah,
Hills?
the Desert Hills
Well,
Hotel.
I'm gonna wait for the our production designer Jonathan is gonna have to do a podcast talking about him and all of the Tulsa, Oklahoma modes.
Ooh, we'd love to have him on. Yeah, I follow him as well. He seems fascinating. Tulsa really is, it's a hidden gem, right? It's like
Yeah,
you can see it in pictures and in some EPK for Tulsa if they're, but then when you come here and you see the majesty of that church or that Art Deco
yeah,
building or that school or the Route 66 signs, it truly comes together. And then when you meet the people,
yeah.
the people here are so hungry for productions like yours. Yes, we want
Yeah.
TV. Yes, we want big budget movies, but we also want indies. We want
Yeah.
movies that, I don't know, I've always been an independent film lover. I want a movie that moves you and
Yeah,
that
indie
kind of,
films are gonna save Hollywood. I mean,
yes,
I really like even when when I first met Christine, like Boys Don't Cry is a movie that changed my life. That's
really.
there's a movie that you can watch that's like, okay, and they're great blockbusters, like, okay, I feel good story. And then there are movies where you get a moment or image or character in your mind, and it's like 10 years later, 20 years later, it's still in your mind, and you're like, oh, that caused a shift in me to love my other, to love to do, something. And I find with indie films, creatives are given enough freedom
Yeah.
and enough, like, I have to do this or I'll die momentum that what happens out of those are just so incredible. I love the independent film world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also love like low budget indies, not like just the, $15 million with the big actor indies. I'm talking about like the
Totally.
underground, like,
Oh,
I love
yeah.
it.
And sometimes those are the best little gems, right? When you're like, "Oh my gosh, and this was on this budget." Can you talk a little bit about budget and how, I mean, I know you went through how many different states and
Yeah.
I mean, tell me a little bit about the budgeting for, there's so many filmmakers who
Yeah.
reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, I need money." I'm like, "If I could crack that code."
Well, I really like, I'm gonna start calling him the Wizard of Oz. Our producer Jordan is seriously like a dream come true. He's probably gonna get a lot of emails in his inbox after this or Instagram messages. But I'm sorry. But like there's such I've been working as a director in commercials and music videos and all that jazz. I've been trying to make this feature for so long, for like I had written it 5 years ago. I've been trying to direct for like 10 years. And I've met so many directors and almost every, not director, so many producers.
Mhm.
And almost every producer, they're looking for credibility to hinge on them doing a project. Understandably, like, oh, you've got this person attached, you've got this, you've got this, you got this. Cool. Like, no, duh, it's a good package. But with Jordan, he really, like, I didn't have anything, just myself and my script and my pitch and why I wanted to do it. And what was built was a really incredible friendship between us and a trust of him trusting me as a director and kind of taking a chance on me as a director. And, bringing on Ashley Benson and Christine and all of these incredible people to surround the script. But he was the first one where it's like a shot in the dark, and
Wow.
really got it going. And I would kind of annoyingly, like, I was pretty consistent. I was a little bit of a pest messaging him, like, are we still doing the movie? Are we still doing the movie? And he'd be
Hey.
like working on different projects and like stressed out with other things. And he'd be like, okay, give me a week. Okay, give me like 2 weeks. And but he was slowly doing, not slowly. We got this whole thing put together in like a year. So not slowly, but I wanted to do it yesterday. So, he'd be bringing he brought everything together. He made it all
Wow.
happen. I'm just the girl with the script and a dream. But Jordan really, really brought it all together and made it happen. And I'm so grateful for that. And I always wanted that, like that really cool director producer
Oh.
connection. And we really stay in our own lane, but we trust each other. So he's able to speak more to like the state change and, the whole producing side of things. But he really trusted me creatively and gave me that. And something our line producer Danny said so well is he said Jordan's really great at trusting, at putting people in certain positions and then trusting them to do their job. And I couldn't agree more. Like he really, and it's what I think is a huge bit of success for the making of this movie was people felt trusted and listened to and seen, and that was so important.
So what I'm hearing for aspiring filmmakers is you have to find a great producer. Is he executive producer?
It's the head producer, yeah.
Okay, the head producer, and then you have to be persistent because
Yeah.
people
No,
do get
I'm
busy.
so persistent.
I
I'm
am
the most
too.
persistent girl in the world.
I
But also, yeah,
I
I truly believe that, not to toot my own horn, but I truly believe that if you have a great piece, that if you like,
yeah.
I knocked down so many doors. I met Jordan at Cannes, not this year, but last year. And I did an affirmed payment plan for my flight. I had no place to stay. I went to stay with some friends, one who ended up being crazy. But anyways, went to stay, in Cannes. And I told myself, I was like, every day I'm going to pitch to like as many people as I see. I'm going to pitch to everyone. It's like if you're wearing a tuxedo, so you know what I mean? Like I wasn't just waiting at my computer. I was like, okay, I don't have a lot of money. I'm doing this payment plan. I'm literally talking to everyone and how I would pitch Pretty Babies. And I don't think this really is great advice because I don't think a lot of people got it. But I went up to people and I said, random people at Cannes, and I said, hey, I have a movie. It's my debut. I want to talk about young sexualized women and show that they ask themselves the same questions as Dostoevsky. That was my one liner. And so many people were like, or their
No, I
responses
love
was,
this.
well, I'm working on a movie with Liam Neeson or that. And I'd be like, I don't think James Cameron went around, which this is a note to so many producers in the world because so many that I know do this. I don't think James Cameron went around going like, "Oh, I'm doing a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet." He's going up to people and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm doing a movie on this boat, and these two people fall in love from different sides of the world, and the da da da." That
Mhm.
whole. I feel like that's how he's talking about it, and I'm so. Maybe this is my own personal critique on Hollywood and the industry right now. I'm so tired of how many
Mm.
people just name drop celebrities because I've never cared. My all-time favorite film is Come and See. I don't even know the name of the lead actor, this 12-year-old boy. Lilia Forever, another unknown actress who is like 15. Like those are the stories that I love. That's also I was gonna, I love the idea of casting non-actors or people who are like unknowns, but it really is, I think the story is what matters. Like going up to someone and being like, this is the story that I'm telling. This is what I want to say. So to anyone who's aspiring writer director, this is terrible advice. Don't listen to me, but really get your one liner on why should this movie be made? Movies cost so much money and so much work and so much time, but like, why? Is it because you're doing something with Netflix, blah, 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 blah? There'll be 20 more after you. No, it's because like, what is your voice? And that to me was, almost like my sense of artistic integrity. And that means that I can say that actresses on our movie, yes, they have incredible names and incredible bodies of work, but I really respected each of them as actresses and as people to trust them with the characters. Because I'm not so easily impressed by like names and name dropping and things like that. That doesn't interest me. What interests me is the artistry and craft of the person, which is why our actresses stand out because they have both.
Absolutely.
Doing a
That
little
is
shout
great
out for
advice.
my actresses.
That's great advice. That's life advice. I give that
Yeah.
advice in my other businesses of coaching. I need it for myself. Your why is everything. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What is your elevator pitch? Right? We
Yeah.
we forgot about that because everyone's on their phones in elevators, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
we need that elevator pitch. And I love that. It's not about the names, it's about the story. Because a story, again, is what's going to move the needle. It's going to start the conversation. It's going to make people imagine again and maybe even shift. And that's what we hope will happen.
Yeah.
That's great advice. And I think more people need to hear the stories of sacrifice to make your art because the big Hollywood industry is crumbling. and we're
And I
watching it
yeah.
crumble.
Yeah, and I think also, like, I just went to and I wish I have the pamphlet, whatever, with the, conductor's name, but a really beautiful symphony orchestra bit on Strauss, and he talks so much about, German music, but leading up to 1940s. World War II and how so many of these composers stayed apolitical until politics came and infiltrated them. And so many of them lost family members or, daughters-in-law and their families and everything in the concentration camps. And you can try to stay apolitical, but politics eventually will come onto you. And I think that there's such a weight on film. It's, a medium that people listen to and watch. And, I always say this line. I think Frank Capra said something similar. But anyways, the line is, "What a privilege it is to speak to your fellow man for 2 hours and in the dark." And art is such a privilege. And if all we're getting from it is just like a red carpet photo, and to say like we were in a movie with a celebrity, like we don't understand what it is. Like you
Mhm.
think about music and paintings and literature and film and the weight that it has to speak to another person, because the moment it has in another person's eyes, and I see that as a weight, so I could care less if someone's making a celebrity movie. I care so much more about what they're saying. Even if you have to say it with your cell phone and like, Adobe Creative Suite and putting it together. I was so grateful for this budget and this film and what I was given, and so beyond grateful for the resources. Like, I can't say that again. But I always told myself that I was going to make this no matter what. If
Yeah.
I ended up having to do it with my iPhone and like, because I felt like it was a story that needed to be told. And I think that's huge motivation because I think art needs to get a lot better. It needs to be about what stories we're telling.
So, is there any advice or feedback for the crew in Oklahoma? I can tell you're not going to say anything negative probably about anyone.
Don't have anything
What could
negative.
we do better? Could we do anything better? Could we do anything different?
No, I mean, I honestly don't think so at all. I thought it was such a beautiful experience, such professional people. I want to do a shout out to Talia, who I absolutely love, who is like a woman
Yeah.
after my own heart and was so on top of it and so smart. And I respect her an insane amount. I think she is such a incredible woman in the world and is going to keep making such beautiful films. I hope I get to make them with her. Chris, our first AD, Chris Warren, who also like was in so many like awkward situations, but took it so professionally and was really like watching out for our actresses and was so professional and really cared about the story. And I'm telling you, like, these people on our crew, like, would stay up late and work on solving problems with us, not to just show a quota, but because they cared that the story was done well.
Mm.
And I'm so grateful for that. And everyone on set cared, from, like I said, to the PAs or Sam or, like so many incredible PAs that we had. And our BTS photographer, Afni, like, we had such incredible people, like, Andromeda, like, Kelsey, there's so many people, and if I'm not saying your name, I'm feeling it in my heart, but, like, I cared about so many people on that crew to the point that, I'm still checking up on them, making see, like, "Oh, they're doing this art, they're doing this cool stuff," because it really felt like a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really felt like a family. It felt like there was a mutual respect with all of us. If I had someone tell me, like, this is your directorial debut as a woman, that can be hard. Like, a lot of crews will like undermine a woman. That was actually a piece of advice I was given right before. And then so I was nervous thinking about that. And then I stepped on set and they were my family, like from the
Yeah.
actresses to our crew members. Like, we were all in it together. It was kind of like we were in this chosen war to make a great film, and we, were determined and did it. And I hope that each and every one of them, I know each and every one of them is going to have a successful, not just career, but life because of how they treat others,
Mhm.
Aaron and like, oh, Mac and this our art department, Jordan and art department,
Am I
like so
hearing
many
you would
incredible
like to do
people.
another film in Oklahoma?
I would love. It's definitely in my mind that I want to do that.
So what's next? You're in the editing process, and
Yeah.
then what?
So I'm in East Village. I feel very much like Mary Kate and Ashley in a New York minute. or Manhattan or what
Carrie
is it called?
Bradshaw.
Sex and the City. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sex and the City. So fun. So I'm here editing with our incredible editor, Ben Rodriguez. He's so great. We're editing out of Lost Planet. So that's become my second little home here. And yeah, editing out of there. And then I'm actually in the process of writing my next script, which Jordan and
Oh,
I are going to be making together next year. I can't say the name. All I'm going to say is that it's a little British, so that's fun. Um, and yeah, I'm actually supposed to be delivering the first draft of that in a month. So I'm writing nonstop and editing and writing nonstop.
when might we get a little bit more from Pretty Babies? What's next with that? Are you gonna do a premiere? I know you're a long way off, but
Yeah, well, we're hoping festival season is in full throttle early next year. So we're looking at the festival world and then seeing what happens. I think it's gonna be a big one.
yeah, that's what we hear. I could keep talking to you, but
Yeah.
I feel like there's more to talk about, and I
No
would love
worries.
to talk to Jordan as well and just follow along your journey and wherever the festival route takes Pretty Babies, I
Yeah.
definitely want to follow with Behind the Scenes Oklahoma because I feel there's a connection to it here in Oklahoma, and I think people are
Yeah.
really going to enjoy this.
I love Oklahoma. I already miss it
Yeah.
so much. I miss it so much.
Well, it's always here for you, and it was a joy to have you guys here, and thank you for the
Yeah.
opportunity to act in this film. I'm so excited to see it and
Awesome.
start that dialogue and see what people how they feel when they watch this and the questions they
Yeah.
ask, the way they shift when they see this film.
You said it so perfectly. That film is a conversation. So I hope, whether they agree or disagree, I really hope it starts a conversation with how women are viewed, how our voices are viewed. That's what I want.
Absolutely. It's important. Well, thank
Yeah.
you, Tyler Marie, for your time today. And we encourage everyone to continue to follow along with Behind the Scenes Oklahoma because we're going to cover all of the film projects, specifically right here, Pretty Babies.
Won't you head on down to Tulsa?